How to Sing Immigrant song by Led Zeppelin. The singer is Robert Plant. Welcome to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. Without much further ado, I'm just going to dive right into it. So I recorded a copy of this myself. I will put it in the description so you can see how I did on the song end to end. I'm going to use this as the template by which I teach you the song. We're going to break it down a line at a time. Let's just dive right in. Here we go. Okay, now, right out of the gate, there's two ways to do this. And let's remember that this was multi-tracked. It's not a single vocal. It's way back in the mix, and there's quite a bit of reverb and delay, particularly delay on it. We can go, ah, get your first ah together. Now, his sound is really small. We talk about this a lot, but it's kind of whiny and wiry. And don't give me a bunch of, Ken, how dare you call Robert Plant whiny? Everybody knows he goes, there's a lady who's, oh, I mean, that's his shtick, okay? So it's a little whiny and a little wiry. And we're gonna go, so let's get this together. I want you to listen real close. Check this out. So, get your first note together. Now you could go, and you can go into head voice. So, like that, which is kind of like he does. He goes into head voice, or you could have a lot of bravado and you go, and you could pull a lot of chest up in the sound. Either way, it's probably better if you go, throw a little H in there to get yourself into your head voice and make sure you've built up your strong head voice. I cover this with all of my students. We go through how to build up our head voice to get the head voice to match the tonal qualities of our chest voice. Now, this song is a little deceiving because the verses are kind of low, whatever that means for Robert Plant. But compared to only sweep with threshing or our only goals will be the Western Shore. So we're going to get to that part in a minute. But the verses are lower and there's a lot of production involved in this. It's not like some single vocal line. They kind of compartmentalized all the sections if you really listen to it. So, but this version is a single vocal line. So we're going to use this version so we can know how to do this live ourselves. Okay. So let's just dive right in. So the first thing, try it again. Right. So that's the most finesseful way to get into it. Get your it's more like laugh. Would be the opening line, and like I said, it's multi-track, so you're going to record it. You could do it 3 or 4 times and put the lead vocal in the middle, put some delays on it, just like they did in the original. Without it, it sounds kind of weird. Okay, so let's move on. Here we go. Now, it's a mouthful. The first line is, we come from the land of the ice and snow, from the midnight sun where the hot springs flow. So I recommend that you don't over-enunciate. So, we come from the land of the ice and snow and the midnight sun and the hot springs flow. I recommend kind of slurring through it. He does that. So, we come from the land of the ice and snow, from the midnight sun where the hot springs flow. Just do that a few times. Now, it's interesting because you have to have a lot of diaphragmatic support, but in my version here, my recorded version, I sing it a little heavier. I go, I come from the land of the ice and snow, yeah, 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 because I like that girthier sound, but he doesn't do that. So we're going to do it, even though my pre-recorded version here where I put in the description for you to listen to, I know that version is different than what I'm going to teach you the way he would have approached it. So sing really small. We come from the land of the ice and snow and the midnight sun and the hot springs flow. Right? So, hey, right? We're going to do it like this first. So now when it gets to the hammer of the gods, he does come with a little bit of chest in the sound. He goes, the hammer. Well, let's just do that. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, let me get the pitch. I want to get a pitch reference. Here we go. The hammer of the gods. Okay. The hammer. He goes, the hammer, the hammer of the gods, drive our ships to new lands. fighting the hordes, screaming and whining, crying, Valhalla, I'm calling you. Okay, now that is the way he treats the song. It's very whiny. He brings a lot of into the sound. Now I didn't do it. I go, let me show you. Let's do it again. There, sorry. Hammer of the gods, drive our ships to new lands, fight the horde, singing and crying, Valhalla, I'm coming. So now let's do this. So instead of going, the hammer of the gods will drive our ships to new lands, to fight the horde, sing and cry, Valhalla, I'm coming, right? He doesn't do that. It's really small. The hammer of the gods will drive our ships to new lands, and he's kind of lighter on it, to fight the horde, sing and cry, Valhalla, I'm coming, right? So I'm not real thick, so I bring my larynx up, into my face, right in here. Hammer of the gods will drive our ships to new lands, to fight the horde, sing and cry, Valhalla, I'm coming, right? So that's his approach to it. Now, why I said this song is a little deceptively hard to sing is because on we sweep with threshing ore, our only goal will be the western shore. Now, go back, listen to the original version, and you're going to hear that each section was recorded very differently. For example, We Come from the Land of the Ice and Snow, from the Midnight Sun, Hot Springs Flow is done in octaves, and it's a very production kind of thing. Now, I know the song's really old, but there was a lot of production put into that. Just like the we had a lot of production in it too. So each section, someone sat there and said, okay, let's do this like this. Then we're gonna do this next section with an octave, and you're gonna sing it like this. Then you're gonna sing the hammer of the gods like a solo vocal. So this section is like a solo vocal. So when it goes, we come from the land of the ice and snow and the midnight sun, hot springs flow, that's doubled with a lot of vocals going on, kind of like the section. But the hammer of the gods is a solo vocal until we get to On We Sweep with Threshing Ore. Check this out. Go back and listen to the original, and you're going to hear it multi-track, and you're going to hear a lot of delay, but we're going to do this in unison. So, on we sweep with, just do the opening line. On we sweep with, and don't sing too heavy in the throat. Try to do just enough to get to the pull it up. So, on we sweep with a threshing ore. Our only goal will be the western shore. Right? Now, in this section, it's also deceiving. Because if you really listen to it, it sounds like he's somewhere between chest and head, what we call mixed voice. Now I can say, our only goal! And I can try to kill it. But he doesn't do that. He goes, our only goal! So bring a little chest. Right? Try to bring a little chest and mix that sound with your head voice. Our only goal will be the western shore. Very similar to He's using a very similar technique. Now, this is important for a lot of reasons. Robert Plant was known to sing very high, and he sang high indeed. Robert Plant was known to also have a very high voice, and he does indeed. When you listen to almost all of his live stuff, he does not sing anywhere near like he did on the record. Almost nothing. Go back and listen to the original. I think there's maybe a half dozen live concerts back in the 70s. And by the way, let's not forget, I think Led Zeppelin only toured for like 3 years, like straight up. Like they got, decades of worship, so it's being eulogized. And they are legends. I mean, don't get me wrong, man. Led Zeppelin's one of my all-time favorite bands, but they didn't tour for 30 years like the Rolling Stones, 40, 50 years like the Rolling Stones or somebody, or, whatever, any band, like Bad Company, whomever. So their total amount of actual touring time was very short. So we don't really know how much Robert could have endured with that sound over time. No, we've seen him later, and he's done some pretty impressive stuff later. I mean, I've seen Kashmir and some of the other stuff they did later. Like in recent, like 5-10 years recent. Pretty amazing to come back and do that, all these years later. But so, let me just do this again. I want to show you. Here I sang it a little bit more belty. Check this out. Fight the horde, singing and crying, Valhalla I'm coming. So, Valhalla I'm coming. It's pretty low in the registration, and then this happens. So let's do it. Always sweet with a threshing air, right? And then right here, our only goal will be the Western Shore. So he kind of brings it into a little bit of a mixed voice, right? Coming up into this section. Then this happens. Our only goal will be the Western Shore. Do it with me. Do that a bunch of times. Right? And double track it, and you're going to get really close to the sound. Hear all that double track? I come from the land of the ice, the snow, and the midnight sun, and the hot springs flow. And then it comes to the single vocal line again. How soft your fields so green, and whisper tales of gore, of how we comb the tides of war. We are your overlords. Okay, let's sing that line at a time. So, by the way, it's kind of funny, all these folklore lyrics of Vikings ruling the world. I like the name of the someone did an autobiography of them called The Hammer of the Gods. I forget what it is, but it was a good title for that, I think. So anyway, comfort land of the ice and snow at midnight sun where the hot springs flow. How soft your fields so green. So now I went on this version. I went, how soft your fields so green can whisper tales of gore, of how we calm the tides of war. We are your overlords. Right, like Coverdale. Again, you guys know how much I like Coverdale. Mad love for Coverdale. But he doesn't do that. He's smaller in this sound. Get your wine together. How soft your fields so green can whisper tales of gore. He's got whisper tales of gore. He whines through that. Whisper tales of gore, of how we comb the tides of war. We are your overlords. Right. And he's got a little cool grit going on. And then On We Sweep With again. So let's check out On We Sweep With. Here we go. Instead of hitting the vowel really hard, instead of doing that, I want you to kind of whine into it a little bit and throw an H at the front of it. Ha! Ha! Always sweet with. Always sweet with. Try that with me a couple times. Always sweet with. And get it real small. Threshing up. Our only goal will be the Western Shore. Okay, so you're going to move into a little bit more of like an AC, back in black kind of head voicey kind of sound, and you could bring as much chest into the sound. Here I brought a lot of it into this particular version because I sang it heavier, but that's not really how Robert Plant sang it. So I want to give you kind of more how Robert Plant did it so you can feel more comfortable getting in that space and growing your head chest mix, all right? And now you're gonna stop and rebuild all your ruins. For peace and trust can win the day despite all your losing. And then the kind of creepy, haunty sort of ending. But I want to point out that there's a lot of chest that does get pulled up into the sound, especially I'm going to do some other Robert Plant stuff because he has a lot of different textures that he uses in a lot of his head voice, and sometimes he has belting chest and whatnot. Not so much in this song, but I wanted to also show you particularly how this song was compartmentalized and laid out in different sections so that when you approach it to pace yourself, you can also pace it to get through the end of this song and actually complete this thing. So hopefully this information was helpful. I have a singing course. It's called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else. You can find it right here at KenTamplinVocalAcademy.com, where me and my students negotiate all these cool places of how to sing these awesome songs, okay? Definitely stick around and check out my next video.